this is how much my debt was when I started this debt-free journey in May 2020. I am now at this number, which is also in the title of the video. So those two numbers aren't really that different. I mean, watching other videos and hearing other people's story, they're like, oh, we knocked out like $50,000 worth of debt in 1 year. And it's like, wow, yeah, I did not knock out very much debt in this past year and a bit. But I want to still give myself credit here because I went, like I said, I went from overspending $1,000 every month to having a balanced budget. And that is huge. I had never had that in my life before. I'm 37 years old. I was 36 when I started this journey. And that was the first time in my life that I had a balanced budget and knew exactly where my money was going, being careful of how I spend my money, making sure that I'm spending my money on things that are actually going to bring value to my life rather than things that won't. Yeah, and I think that that's huge. I did a lot of work in terms of reducing my expenses, so doing the service shuffle. I've made a blog entry on this. I'll link down below as well. Calling a cell phone provider and finding deals, finding the absolute cheapest cell phone I can, which I think I pay $40 a month now for my cell phone. Same with the internet I recently did. I saved, I think, that one I didn't save as much. I think I'm saving $20 a month now, but I'm getting much faster internet. What else? Hydro, can't really do much about that, but food, that was a big one. I was a huge food waster, and I always had so much guilt around it. I felt terrible when I wasted food. Food is just one of those things that I have. Wasted food bothers me to my core, and I was so bad for doing it. So I was always hard on myself, and I always felt like crap because I'd go to the grocery store without a plan and buy all this stuff that looked good and inspired me, and then I'd bring it home, and then I'd not have very much energy, and I wouldn't cook the stuff or prepare the stuff, and then it would end up going into the garbage. So much money was being wasted that way. I got into the whole frugal food, zero waste kitchen stuff. That's also a sort of like side branch of the financial community, and absolutely loved it. Started learning how to cook with meats that had bones in it so I could make like extra meals out of the bones. Oh man, learning how to preserve foods and freeze them, and it's just fun. I found it so fun, and I still find it fun. I really enjoy it. That's why I make the cooking videos, right? Because I want to share that with people. I enjoyed it so much, and I want to share with others in the hopes that they can get just as much enjoyment out of it. In terms of budget, I use a zero-based budget. I use an Excel spreadsheet. I got one document per year and one spreadsheet per month. So I open up the file for whatever 2021, and I've got like January, February, March, whatever. And I prepare that 1 year in advance. And I put all of my income streams, because I have more than one, I get income from more than just the university now. I have all my income streams and then all my expenses, and I have one column for my expected. So what am I expecting my income to be? What am I expecting my expenses to be? And then when the month comes up, then I start filling in all the blanks for what my actual values are. And it's sort of like a game. It's like, how much can I make this this actual column less than my expected column? When it comes especially to my variable expenses, I budget $450 for variable expenses. That's gas, groceries, purchasing whatever things that come up, like if there's a gift, money being collected for a gift for the lab or something, that comes out of that budget. If I want to buy myself a book, that comes out of that budget. Stuff for the cat, all that stuff. And I do my best to make it to come in under $450. The last few months have been pretty bad, and I've actually spent a lot, but I've also made extra income by selling stuff around the house in order to supplement that. So again, no debt, right? None of this can go on to credit. None of it can be carried over to the next month. It has to be that month, and it has to be a zero-based budget. The zero-based part of it means that at the end of the month, you have nothing left over. Now, what I do is that I try to have at the end of the month as much money left over as possible, and then I zero it out by putting whatever I have extra onto debt, and that goes into my debt snowball. So it's like a game every month, is I'm trying to have as big of an amount at the end of the month. I mean, when I started, I was, there was one month I had 37 cents extra. So that month was like pretty much I broke even. So 37 cents went onto my Visa. But there's some months where I've had like $700 extra just from extra money coming in. Picked up a shift here. We sold a bunch of stuff there. Sold a quilt on Etsy. You know, all this stuff, and I collect it all, and I try to save as much money as I can on groceries, and then that lump sum goes on to whatever debt I'm tackling next in my list. Right now it's the car loan. So yeah, that's what my zero-based budget looks like. Another really important aspect to my budget that I developed, like I didn't do this all the first month I started budgeting, right? There's a 3-month grace period, which was so helpful for me, is that I was expecting that I was going to screw up my budget for the first 3 months. And I had that grace period. So by the end of the 3-month period, I needed to balance exactly to the penny and stay within budget and all of that stuff. But there was 3 months grace period. After that 3-month grace period, when I was actually getting the hang of tracking all my spending and budgeting and then, you know, maintaining the spreadsheet, I started adding sinking funds. And sinking funds are saving money for a purchase that's coming, that's going to be large, that you won't be able to cover with just your 1 month's income. But you know is coming. So you save a little bit every month in order to pay it when it shows up. My first sinking fund was my car registration, and I saved $90. That's what my first sinking fund was. And then I just started adding a little bit more. So, you know, I had maybe allotted $50 a month for my sinking funds. And then, you know, maybe then I was able to get it to $100. Now my sinking funds are about $400 a month. My sinking funds now, I have one for the cat. So I've got $500 that I save. That's just for vet bills. If something happens, I don't have to touch my emergency fund. I don't have to worry about my budget being damaged or anything like that. I've got money set aside so that she can go to the vet, and I don't have to worry about, oh, can I afford to bring her to the vet? It's not even a question. Yes, I have the money to bring her to the vet if she's sick. I can do that. Now, $500 might not be enough to cover it, and that goes into my emergency fund, but I didn't want to rely solely on the emergency fund for vet bills, because in my experience, when emergencies happen, they tend to happen like in groups. So I wanted to make sure that I had at least some money set aside for the cat. So I have a cat sinking fund. I have a car repair sinking fund. Right now, I don't have any foreseeable repairs on the car, like in the near future. So what I've been saving for is a set of winter tires. And when I get winter tires, I'm going to feel like such an adult. It's going to be amazing. So yeah, I'm about I'm just a couple months away now. I think I got 600 and something set aside for the winter tires. My goal is to save 1,000, and I should have that by the end of September. I've got a medical sinking funds because I do have a medical condition that does require treatment, so I do save money for that. A lot of people do have a Christmas gift sinking fund, but I don't spend very much money at all at Christmas time. Maybe $100, and that can be cash flowed, so I don't worry about that. Tech update. I just added that one a few months ago. I rely a lot on technology now. My desktop for work, my phone, my camera. I got a dash cam now too. And now that I'm doing live streaming on Twitch, I do want to get some more cameras. So, and a better computer that can actually run OBS and all these things without glitching. So, and I do need to update my desktop really bad because I haven't updated it in about 7 years. Yeah, so I do have a tech update fund that I put $100 in every month, and hopefully eventually I'll have enough to update my technology when it fails on me. So yeah, those are my sinking funds as of now, and I rearrange them as needed. Okay, so back to the bigger picture here of what I want to give myself credit for here from the past year, because I didn't pay off so much debt. But what did I accomplish? Well, I accomplished living on a budget that is balanced every month. So, you know, instead of overspending by $1,000 every month and going further into debt, having actually sworn off debt and making ends meet. Like, that is so huge for me. This is the first time in my life that I've actually accomplished that, and that's really big. That's something that I should not be overlooking when I'm looking at my debt progress and being sad about it. Like, I really shouldn't. I should be happy that I have learned how to live on a budget and that I'm doing it very well now. The fact that I've got an emergency fund, that when something happens, I don't have to rely on debt. I don't have to freak out and be anxious because now I don't know how I'm going to pay rent or buy food, or that I'm going to have to go beg someone to lend me the money or just give me the money to pay for something. Like, that is huge. To have that emergency fund, oh, it was just, it makes such a difference. And I've set up sinking funds where now I have enough money coming in to not only cover all my bills, but to also save to put to future expenses. Like, that's huge. As of September of this year, in addition to those three things, I will have extra money every month to put towards debt. Now, for the last year, the extra money that I have at the end of the month to go to debt comes from my hustling. So I know this term is a bad term to use, but selling stuff I have around the house, cleaning things out and decluttering and then selling them on Facebook, my plants, selling that, my quilts, like, you know, it's a lot of variable income. So I can't guarantee that I'm going to sell a quilt. I can't guarantee that anyone on Facebook is going to want to buy my geraniums or my plants or whatever it is. Like, I can't guarantee that. And that's what I was relying on to pay for my debt snowball, to pay off debt. But as of September, and I'll talk about this in another video, I will have enough guaranteed income each month to have a sizable chunk. Sizable is relative, right, to like my experience. Sizable amount to put towards my debt every month, and that'll be guaranteed income. So now that plus whatever my side hustling brings will make an even bigger debt snowball. So that is super exciting. So yeah, I don't want to sell myself short when I'm looking at my numbers of like, how, you know, what did I start my debt journey at, and then what am I at now after a whole year and a bit of working. Although that number is small, you know, there's just so much behind the scenes work that I've accomplished in the last year that I really need to value that. I should not be depressed at how little debt I paid this past year. I should be happy about how much progress I made in financial literacy this year. Another thing that I learned was delayed gratification and contentment. Learning to be happy with simple things. I used to think that buying stuff is what would make me happy. Oh, if I had this stand mixer, that would just make my life so much better and happier, because I would attach an image of what I think life would be like and what emotions I would have by having that life, and I would attach that to an object. And all I needed to do to achieve this life that I wanted, or this goal, or these feelings, was to get this item. And I don't know why I connected it, but I think a lot of people do that, is they connect this item or whatever it is to some sort of emotion or event or something, and then they buy it. A good example would be board games. I would spend a lot of money on board games because in my mind, when I saw the board game in the store, I can imagine a board game night with friends, and it's a great potential memory. And so I'd buy the board game. And I had to realize that, you know, if we're translating this to a metaphor, I had to realize that the board game doesn't equal the memory, right? And whether it's this board game or one of the board games I already have at home, I can make that memory with the board game I have at home. I don't need the new board game to make this theoretical memory. So I had to detach that idea that an item equaled a potential happy memory. I don't know how else to explain it. But yeah, I had to learn the delayed gratification and contentment with what I had. And it wasn't necessarily easy, but it was such a valuable skill to learn. It was being happy with what I have now and creating content moments with what I have now versus thinking, when I have this thing, then I'll be happy. Making that shift was so valuable. And I have to practice it continually. It's not like, once I've figured it out once, then I never have to think about it again. I do still have to remind myself from time to time, oh, do I want to buy this object because I think it's going to make me happy, or do I want to buy it because it's actually going to fill a purpose, like a concrete purpose in my life? So yeah, I have to remind myself of that sometimes. Another big win from the past year was paying off my credit card. That was exciting because that was the first debt on my list that I tackled, and credit card debt is just something I was so used to using and just having, and in my mind, you just always have credit card debt. That's just how it is. And then sometimes you pay it off, but then you rack it back up, and that's just life. So learning to swear off debt, and that actually was super easy. The day I decided no more debt, it was like a switch flipped in my head and was like, no more debt. And then I didn't even think about my credit card. I remember one time I had to go buy kitty litter, and I had sold something, but I sold it cash, and they were coming to pick it up that night, but I needed kitty litter. And I thought to myself, I can't buy the kitty litter now. I have to wait till I receive the cash. It didn't even occur to me that I could just put it on credit and then pay off the credit. Like, it didn't even, and when I realized that, I was like, oh, why didn't I even think about credit? I'm like, this is good. I think it's going to work. I did not use credit. I waited the next day before buying it to have the cash. So paying off that credit card fully and then not using it anymore, that's a good feeling. That's really great. I keep my credit card is at 0, and that's where it's staying. It's a good feeling. And I don't even think about it in terms of, oh, it's there if I have an emergency. I don't even think of that, because I have my emergency fund. If I were to have an emergency with the car, I wouldn't use the credit card. I would use my emergency fund, which is cash, and there's no interest on that. So it's just, anyway, it's a great system. Check out the baby steps. If you haven't heard of it before, check them out. They're pretty cool. I've been talking for like an hour now, and I'm done. I'm out of tea, but I guess it worked because I'm awake now. Where I am now, I am in baby step 2. I'm still on the debt-free journey. I have paid off one of my debts, which was my credit card debt. I still have three debts to pay. I've got my car loan, which is the one I'm tackling right now. I have a government assistance overpayment. So when I was on assistance, I ended up getting an overpayment of a large amount, about $3,000. And I have to pay that back. And luckily, that is not time sensitive, and it's not accruing any interest. It's just kind of sitting with the government, and they're like, well, pay us when you can. So that's going to be the next one after my car loan. And then I've got my student loans, which are currently not collecting interest, but it's a big one. It's $30,000. So that's, I don't know how I'm going to do that one. But anyway, one step at a time, and the car loan is the step I'm on now. I've really lost motivation for this. I still want to do it. So like, I have some motivation, but like that intense motivation. They call it that gazelle intensity. Like, you are running for your life here. Now I'm just like, I'm just leisurely walking down the debt-free journey at this point, as opposed to like running for my life. The biggest motivator for me while I was doing this debt-free journey, getting the budget set up, paying off my credit card, getting the emergency fund set up, all of that, I was highly motivated by a sense of a need for security. I needed to feel safe. I needed to feel secure. And these were very much actions that would make me feel secure. Having an emergency fund, paying off that credit card, having a budget, and knowing that for the next year, my guaranteed income is going to cover my bills, so I don't have to worry. That is the security and the safety that I was after. And I have now reached that. My budget is balanced. I have the skills to keep my expenses low. I know how to shuffle around my services to make sure that I'm getting the best possible price for like cell phone and that kind of stuff. How to survive on very little for groceries. I love watching those videos. Survive on $10 a week. I love those things. I don't know. It's just, I got a thing with food. I don't know why. But yeah, I've got those skills now, and that's exciting and that's great, but it's not new anymore, right? At least for me, when I'm learning something new, I get that high, that rush of empowerment, that I'm learning a new skill, and I feel that I've learned that skill now, and it's not as exciting to me anymore. I feel safe. I have that security of knowing that my bills are paid every month for the next year, with my guaranteed income from the university and the various positions that I have. I have that security because my credit card doesn't have a balance on it. I feel safe. Everything is taken care of. I've got sinking funds set up for the big purchases that are coming up. Like, I'm financially organized. I am financially secure. I am safe. So I'm comfortable. And real change comes, and your real motivation comes when you're uncomfortable and you're motivated to make a change. So I'm not uncomfortable anymore. So it's difficult for me to really want to be intense with paying off my debt. I've lost my edge. I used to be super motivated to like only spend, there was one month I spent only $30 on groceries. That's it. $30 for the full month on groceries. That's intense. Like, that was motivated, and it wasn't deprived. Like, I didn't feel deprived. I was excited. It was fun. It was a big challenge. There was one time where I had to wait a week. I'd run out of butter, and I love having butter on popcorn. That's my thing at night. Instead of buying chips and junk food, I have popcorn. I pop my own popcorn, and I put lots of butter and salt on it, and I'm good to go. I had run out of butter, so I was using olive oil on my popcorn instead of going out and buying butter. So then when my budget turned over in that one week, and it was the first of the month and I could go buy butter, boy, was I happy. And it's that whole like hedonic treadmill, right? If you delay gratification on something and then you get it, you feel super happy. And that doesn't just apply to like big purchases, that also applies to butter. And like the amount of happiness I got from buying butter that day was super high, just as high as if I would have bought, like, I don't know, a new book or something. So I was very intense for the past year, and I loved it, and I was motivated and had the energy and all this. And I've lost that. I don't have that kind of energy anymore. I mean, maybe in part it is because my illness has really flared up lately, and I've been very sick, and fatigue has been really bad. I've had brain fog and all that stuff. So maybe that's part of it too, but I don't know. I feel I don't have as much motivation as I did a year ago. It's not as new anymore. It's not as exciting. A lot of YouTubers have talked about this stage, this phase when they get, 2 years into the journey, it's like they hit a wall and they're not intense anymore, and they just don't have that motivation. And a lot of the YouTube channels that I watched when I was starting this journey were started because the people had come into this wall. They had lost motivation. They'd been on the journey for a year or two, didn't have motivation, and so they turned to YouTube channels and the finance community online to sort of motivate themselves. So that's sort of what I'm doing now. I've printed out my debt-free charts because that was another one, and actually I have them right here, don't I? Yeah, so I got my debt-free charts because that was another thing that they said was good to have. So I've tried that. I'm trying the YouTube channel, finance updates, trying that too. Pretty much trying whatever I can to get back that intensity and get back that motivation to just pay stuff down, because I want that car loan done by the end of the year. And I don't see how that's going to happen right now because I'm not making enough money. I'm also not as motivated to go find that money. So if I were to say what are my goals, what I'm hoping to achieve, I guess, until the end of the year, one is pay off that car loan. I still need $3,500 from here to December in order to pay the car loan off by the end of December. So that is one thing, that is one goal that I'm really wanting to be accountable for. So I'm putting it out there to the universe and the financial community. I need to pay off the car loan by the end of the year. The second thing that I really want to be accountable to is finding more income streams. Right now, my income streams pretty much all rely on the university. And once I'm done the PhD in 2.5 years, that university income is gone. And I'm very worried about that because with my illness, I cannot hold down a full-time 9-to-5 job. That does not work for me. I have to have flexible hours because my flare-ups are unpredictable. There's days where I will be bedridden for a few days in a row with severe fatigue and brain fog, and I cannot function. And that does not work for a 9-to-5 Monday to Friday job. So I need to find something that's going to be flexible, something that I can do from home. I'm not sure what it's going to be yet, but I need to find out because I am getting worried about what my future is going to look like in 2.5 years. So I'm thinking about things like an environmental consulting business where I can use my degrees, maybe tutoring, something like that. I mean, I've got all this education, might as well put it to use. So I'd like to get some sort of side projects like that going, up and running, so that I can have, by the time I finish my PhD, I want to have solid income streams that I can fall back on once university, like once that's done. I mean, maybe I can try and get a postdoc, but I mean the postdocs don't pay very much either. But it could give me an extra year or two to get my non-university incomes to the point where they're covering all of my expenses. I think if I could get the ball rolling on maybe 2 or 3 of these side income ideas before the end of this year, that would be great. I don't know, maybe setting up some sort of tutoring or grad coaching, or some sort of business plan for environmental consulting or something like that. Just get the ball rolling on it. Start the preliminary process of it. That I think would be, I think, a good goal. So car loan, new income stream, businesses that would use my degrees. My ideas for staying accountable is these videos. So either weekly or monthly videos. Maybe I'll do a monthly on like my debt repayment progress, but I could do weekly ones on how I'm adhering to my budget, how I'm saving money on groceries, especially in the summer because I'm part of several community gardens and I do get some free produce that way. And I like to make videos to share with people how do I preserve that harvest and what do I cook with that harvest. I've also been thinking about doing my very own $10 challenges. I'm in Canada, $10 would not go very far, so it might be $20 challenges. Making meal series, if you get a pork roast with a bone, what do you do? How many meals can that stretch for? That type of stuff. So I might do some things like that to keep me accountable to keeping my grocery budget as low as possible. Maybe also some side hustle ones. So videos on how do I make money with my plants. I have a big plant obsession. I'm sure you've seen in some of my other videos, I got plants everywhere, and I propagate them and I sell them to help bring in a little bit of income. So I could make some videos on that. Same with my quilts and whatnot. What do I do? How do I do it? How much money does it bring me in? So that's, I think, what I would like to do, what I'm aiming for in terms of the finance videos for this channel. Because this channel is just a mishmash of things that interest me. Like, I've got all kinds of videos on my channel, and I want to see what I enjoy doing most, what's easier to do, what do people like, that type of stuff. So if you like the finance videos and you think this is a great idea, leave a comment, like whatever. So that's all that I have. And I would love to show you the cat, but she just got up and left. The whole other time she was laying here. That's my money spiel. I hope that you found something informative in this or entertaining maybe. And I hope that you'll follow along and help keep me accountable to these goals and just follow on this journey with me, and we'll see what happens. And undertake your own financial journey. September does have some exciting things happening. There have been some exciting things going on the past week that will be manifesting themselves in August and September. So that's sort of exciting. Like I said earlier, as of September, I will have enough guaranteed income to cover all of my expenses and make a sizable, in my vocabulary, payments to my debt. So that was an exciting development that I'm not going to go into detail yet, but I will soon. But yeah, hopefully I'll have something else that'll come up and will help me make enough money to pay off the car loan for this year. But we'll see. Stay tuned and find out if I actually make it and if I can actually pay off the car. So I'll keep you guys updated on that. All right, see ya.